You know, when I grew up in America, for some reason, there was always this stigma that Africa was secondary. We hold more natural resources than any other continent. 60% of the world's functional national resources reside through us, our people. But yet, in America, everything that was associated with Africa was seen to be secondary, subpar, not up to speed. And that also met me. And you know, that affected me. I grew up with a chip on my shoulder, and I still have that chip. So I came to Ghana to establish one thing only. We can do it, and you can expect us. My name is Kwab Asamoah. I'm the president and CEO of Kustom Looks Clothier. Well, I left Ghana initially when I was 7, but I entered the US when I was 9 years old. There was a 2-year transition with the visas where we went to the UK, and then something happened with the visa, so I had to stay there for about 1.5 years for them to get the visa right. And once that was right, I came back to Ghana and then went to the US. So technically I entered the US at the age of 9. Well, you know, America at the time that I entered was not the America of today. You know, here, if you say Ghana, people know West Africa, they know East Africa. By the time I entered America, Africa was just one country. It wasn't even a continent to most Americans. And the only impression that most people even had of Africa was this TV show called Tarzan, which had a white man basically swinging around trees with Africans looking like we were natives. So most of the people who I grew up with assumed that was the impression of Africa. They weren't used to an individual who actually looked like them, operated like them. They thought we were sort of savages and primitive in our thinking. So I was treated differently. I mean, the biggest thing that we used to hear all the time was African booty scratcher, go home. And the kids used to treat me all the time, used to always want to fight me. I think they thought they can beat me up enough and I would just go home. You know, they didn't realize that we came on a one-way visa. So that wasn't going to happen, but it was a tough upbringing. It was challenging, but I think what it did for me that was very important was the only equal I could have was education. I didn't know the language, I didn't know the culture. When I went to America, most of my time was spent in Kumasi. The housing structures we had, construction was different, materials were different. So when I entered America, everything was foreign. I didn't even know one word of English, which is kind of odd now because all I speak is English. But nevertheless, it was a difficult childhood because people weren't familiar with Africans. So we were treated as second-class citizens, but I think it helped me in terms of having the fortitude to overcome. I already knew we weren't going to go back to Ghana. My parents made it very clear that this was our future. So it was basically, you know, sink or swim. And I think that gave me a certain level of fortitude that I see now in my adult life as well as in my business career. My education at a HBCU was a very interesting experience because myself, I never knew there was a thing called HBCUs until I entered college. I was very protected in the sense of growing up. My parents, all they cared about was education. So I had a very strict routine. I went to school. After school, I was in sports, and then home, and then I worked. So outside of those 3 things, I wasn't quite aware of certain aspects of American culture. Going to HBCU probably wasn't that different for me because I grew up in Africa, in a culture in Ghana where I saw a lot of Africans, Black Americans or Black people around me. So going to HBCU and seeing that amount of Black people was not something that was different for me. But I know for other people, it is a cultural differential. What probably was the most difference would have been the awareness that it brought to me. Because at the time, I really didn't understand how African Americans were disjointed from Ghana and Africa and the homeland. It wasn't until I was at HBCU where I started seeing different groups of African American sectors who were trying to build bridges back with their culture, back with their ancestry, that made me actually realize that there was a disconnect. And I spent most of my time in HBCU trying to really understand African Americans, their culture, because my culture was different, but I didn't think mine was better. I just felt we were different, so there was a sense of ignorance on my part. And having an education, 4 years at HBCU, probably was the best thing because it helped me to really understand African Americans much better than any other element in my life. With a degree in engineering and physics, what inspired my interest in fashion? None of those degrees, I can tell you that. Fashion wasn't something that I went to school for. It was an opportunity that came. If anything, what engineering and physics taught me was the ability to learn. So when fashion came aboard, even though I had no interest at the initial time, I had no knowledge, no expertise, what I did have was the right foundations for learning. College had taught me that. It had taught me that, hey, when I went to college, I wasn't an engineer, I wasn't a physicist, but when I graduated, I became that because college taught me the principles of educating myself in that subject matter. So from that, I could take that same habit to fashion. So whereas when I came into fashion, I didn't know anything, I wasn't as easily as intimidated because I knew how to learn. And I knew that if I applied the same principles that I applied to engineering and physics, I can also be successful in fashion. At the time, we already had Kustom Looks in the US. We had our shop. We're doing quite well. But for me, it was my long-term projection and expansion. I felt that having a factory was a better setup for me. There weren't too many successful labels in America that I knew of that were 10, 15, 10, 20 years in the game. I grew up with FUBU, Cross Colors, Sean John. And by the time I started Kustom Looks, all these brands had come and gone. So I already knew that Kustom Looks would probably have a longevity for a certain amount of time. But I was in this industry and I wanted to stay in the industry permanently. And the only thing that I saw as a permanent structure in fashion was the manufacturer. The labels always come and go, but the manufacturer was pretty solid. So that became my logic, and I could not set up a manufacturing operation in the United States. So every time I came to Ghana, I would always see hundreds of tailors all over the place. So I knew we could sew here, but it was the ability to actually put them in a factory environment that I felt that I could bring, and that's what we wanted to work on. So that was probably my biggest catalyst for coming to Ghana, was seeing the opportunity and being able to take advantage of it. Some of the challenges I faced when I relocated. Well, one of the most important things was there's a cultural differential. I mean, in the United States, we're coming from an environment where credit is what determines our value, our wealth, and the ability for us to accomplish things. In Ghana, you're dealing with a cash society. So that was a very different transition, to be able to program yourself to know that you must hold on to cash, you must pay for things up front, coming from an environment where we pay everything after the fact. So that was probably one of the biggest adjustments personally. Business-wise, cultural differential. You know, the work culture in Ghana is different than the work culture in America. From the amount of hours in a day that a person works to the amount of days in a week that they work. Salary structures are different. But I would probably say trying to teach our people how we operate with the US in terms of the workforce, labor force, workplace environment, how you communicate with your workers, how they understand the job that needs to be done. All those is very different compared to the US versus here. Human resource is a definite differential. So I probably would say that was my biggest obstacle, was trying to understand the culture, trying to understand our work ethic, and then being able to match that with the production level that we were trying to have for international brand. I mean, I was taught that success, or better yet, lifestyle, is having time plus money. And when I was in the United States, I had good money. I mean, I was making $100,000 a year when I was 24 years old, and I never made less. So I was making good money. I had, two houses, 5 cars, you know, and all that was credit, you know, so it wasn't like I had the money, but my credit was good enough for me to live like that. But I didn't have time. And one of the main things that I learned was true lifestyle is having control of your time and money. And the United States, I could never achieve that. Ghana afforded me that opportunity to try to achieve it. And I will have to say the greatest thing I enjoy about Ghana is having the time now, being able to have workers with me who can take care of other responsibilities. So it frees me up to do other things besides just sit and perform, you know, the job at hand. So I have to say the time factor. I've hosted a lot of African Americans and how important it is to be a bridge. It is extremely important. It is extremely important because we have two cultures that are separated not by just 5,000 miles and by oceans. We are really separated by the way we operate, the historical information. So in order for someone to understand Ghana, you probably need somebody who's also gone over there to understand how a person in the U.S. processes things, how they see things, what are their expectations. So being able to make sure that someone who comes here can get some of that experiences so that they know that Ghana is a viable market for them, whether it's to do business, whether it's to retire to live here, or whether it's just to come in and have a cultural immersion experience. Our goal is to try to make their experience as welcoming as possible. And I feel that being able to have a common face or someone who has lived in your culture and has an extensive knowledge of your culture will probably show an appreciation for the two differences versus being so scared of the two differences. So I try to encourage all my siblings, all my friends and family and any associate that's coming to Ghana. And I try to meet them, I try to host them, I try to show them around, point them to the different ways of the land so that they can have a positive experience in hopes that they will continue to come back and make an impact in our community, because we need our external brothers, we need our diasporan brothers and sisters to be able to come here. And they are really the future of Ghana's opportunity for growth, not just for Ghana, really for the whole continent. So if you're listening to me and you're hearing this, you need to come back and you need to find people like us who are here to can help you and guide you so you can make that transition. I am a proud member of Omega Psi until I die. And the reason why it is important is, you know, if you look at the African American sector, no matter how you break up African Americans, whether you break them by height, you break us by skin color, you break us by hair texture, however way you want to divvy up African Americans, you're going to find the most educated, most successful conglomerate group is going to be the D9 group, the fraternities and sororities. And it's very important that we reach out to those individuals because they have the most opportunities and the most resources to come make a difference here in Ghana. We believe that the things that they have gone through, the type of businesses that they have set up, the type of education that they have obtained are commodities that the Ghanaians could use, take advantage of, and help. So it's very important that as a fraternity member, I extend myself not just to members of my fraternity, but to the collective organization so that they know that there's a familiarity here, there's a common ground for them. They can come in here and feel safe and know that they can achieve the dreams that they want because somebody who's also a member has done it. Familiarity breeds contempt. All fraternities and sororities, our number one aspect is service. And in my particular fraternity, our goal is to work with the Ghana community to uplift our community. We have various projects that we must are mandated for us to perform, including scholarships and talent hunts that we provide for students. But one of our biggest core projects is the Water for Life. We have made it a goal to bring clean water to remote villages. And right now, as I'm talking to you, we have built over 92 boreholes throughout Ghana right now, which has led to a UN humanitarian award for our fraternity. And it's very important that we do these type of projects because our people are going to be impacted for generations. Being able to have access to clean water means diseases like malaria, cholera, all these type typhoid, all these type of diseases are going to be minimized, which means our people will live longer, they will live healthier, and we have an opportunity for the next generation to be able to move us and propel us better. So it's an extreme important that we work within the community. So working with celebrities and dressing with celebrities. Well, one of the things you will learn is they put their pants one leg on at a time, just like you. So I think that one part of the most important things is not to be awed by a celebrity because there's really nothing more. That there goes I, but for the grace of God. You know, most of the people I've seen who are successful at what they do, what I try to do is learn what are the habits that they've made that made them be successful. As I get to know them as a designer and as a fashion stylist, the more I know my clients, the better we can style them because we know what's keen to their heart. We know what means, what values they want to represent in their style. But the most important thing is to also learn from them. You know, I think when you get an opportunity to be around a celebrity or a star who has excelled at something, learn what are the habits that made that person successful. What you will find out is the same person who's successful in a movie had the same habits as a person who's successful as an astronaut. You know, the cost of success is the same, you know, as the cost of failure. Both will cost you your life. Just your decision as to which part you want to apply your life to. Experience of setting up custom looks in Ghana. Well, it depends. Are you talking about governmental? Of course, there's the government policies that you must follow, registration, trade name research, direct board of directors. I mean, that's your standard business, registration and format that everybody has to. But if you're talking about setting up custom looks and really coming into the community, one of the things that we had to do is we had to learn the marketplace. My clients used to come to me and would say, hey, I need a jacket. No, I'm sorry, they would be like, I need a coat. And I used to be like, a coat? Because in America, a coat is a warm weather garment that is made with layers and textures designed to retain heat, not to let heat expel. So when clients were coming to me and saying, I need a coat, I was confused. So then I asked subsequent questions. And from the questions, we could identify, oh, you don't need a coat. You need a tuxedo. You're going to a wedding. You're the groom. And the person was like, yes, I need a coat. So what we realized was the importance of educating the market, because here, Ghanaians will use one word to describe 4 different things. And so through subsequent questions, we can determine which one they were trying to ask for, what they needed. But the most important thing was for us to educate the market. So what I started doing was going on television every month to do monthly segments where we take questions and answers from different viewers. We started doing YouTube broadcasts. We started working with different shows like the Boys shows, where we would have segments dedicated to fashion. Because one of the things we did see was an educated consumer is definitely the best customer. So we focused on trying to educate our consumer base. Any advice for a diaspora looking to establish a business in Ghana? Well, the first thing I would say is do something. Stop sitting on your butt thinking about what you're going to do, what you wish you were going to do. Look, there's no success without action. So my first thing is do something. Put some action behind those dreams, goals, and aspirations. Now, if you're gonna come here to Ghana, first thing I'm gonna tell you is this. Don't come here thinking success here is some shortcut that you couldn't do in America. That's probably the biggest disrespect you can give to Ghana or Africa, to think that you can somehow come here and find a shortcut to success. No. Success here requires the same dedication, the same commitment, the same work ethic as you would do in America. So that's the first thing, is get that out of your mind. The difference is the opportunity that is afforded to you would be greater. But do not think that what it takes to be successful here is any different than what it would take to be in America. So don't come in here and create any shortcuts. It's not going to work for yourself. Do the same things that you've done in the US. Put together a business plan. Steady your market, steady your culture, steady your product, and then go to work. We used to start doing bespoke suits, and now I guess people see us now from African wear, track suits, and things like that. What has inspired is growth. In this business, I've always said, he who has the machines wins. So the more machines that you have, the more you can do. We just happen to have evolved to the point where we have the machines necessary to be able to do certain designs like tracksuits or knitted fabrics or fabrics that stretch like Lycra and things like that. So because of that, we cannot get into that market sector. We've always been driven by the market. I'm not a fashion designer like other artists. I can't even barely sketch or draw. So I'm an engineer. So I look at things from a different perspective. And one of the biggest things for us business-wise is what sells. I don't have the artistic capabilities to come up with a design that's so avant-garde. Rather, I will come up with a design that I know that people will buy and pay for. So that probably be my biggest inspiration, would be money. One of my friends said to me when they met me, all I did was wear bespoke suits. You never caught me in jeans. You never caught me in t-shirts. And now all I wear is tracksuits. You won't catch me in a bespoke suit. Why is that? Because tracksuits are making me money. If it was suits, I wear suits today. Whatever is the hottest product that we are making is the product that I will push, because I want to ride the momentum. A rising tide raises all ships. So I'm going to go with whatever the tide is as a businessman, go with the trend. And right now, sportswear is a very empty sector in Ghana. So that's why we've decided to go in there. Less competition, and the opportunity is great. I expressed an interest to make clothes for the Black Stars because it's important that as a country, we realize that we must manufacture our own products. We will not be able to have any economic relief until Ghana starts to become a manufacturer instead of an importer. And whether that means manufacturing rice, manufacturing tomatoes, or manufacturing fashion, we must manufacture. So my contribution to help my people and my country is to manufacture here. So companies like the Black Star, organizations like that, which are massive countrywide, we want to try to get them to support the local market, to be able to invest those dollars in the local sector so that we can employ people, we can hire more people, we can pay more taxes back into the government, which then will also help us as a community. So I think, you know, our drive was that. Were we disappointed? No, we weren't disappointed that the Black Stars did not give us the contract this year, because that no just means this year. We're not going nowhere. We will be in their face every year until they give us that contract, because it's the right thing to do. And there's nothing that we are making that they are getting outside that we couldn't make here. You must have faith in your people, and you must start somewhere. So I'm not going nowhere. I'm in their face today, tomorrow, and until I die, I will stay in their face, because it's the right thing to do, not just for Ghana, not for the Black Stars, but it's the right thing to do for our people. A few must do things when traveling to Ghana. Well, socially speaking, you have to go to the castle. I mean, I don't think anybody who, especially of African-American heritage, to come to Ghana and not make your way to the slave castle, you're doing yourself a major disservice. So definitely need to go to the castle. Other aspects of Ghana, you have to see our beaches. You know, we have some beautiful beaches. Go to places like Ada, and you can definitely get a sense of different parts of our culture. If you get an opportunity, you definitely want to go to Kumasi, see the Ashanti kingdom, and see the value and the strength of an African kingdom that maybe we may not have had historically in the U.S. to even know about. I think you will appreciate Ghana more by the way you meet our people, the way you interact with our people, get an opportunity to see just the genuine love that our people have for each other. I think one of the biggest things you can do is get outside of Accra and get into the villages. You will see a whole different aspect of love, appreciation, and life. Because in the villages, they may not have all the resources that you may have, but you will see the amount of love, how everybody takes care of each other. There's a saying that we grew up with, and you hear it in America: it takes a village to raise a child. And when you go to the village, you actually see that in execution. You can see how another parent who will be there to take care of a child that is not their blood. You will see grandmothers taking care of their grandkids while their mothers are out working or trying to build a better career for themselves. So what you see is that nuclear family that we used to have in the United States. You see it here, you see it in execution, and you really feel proud and you understand the value of that family structure. So these are some of the things I think is important that you have to experience when you come in Ghana, and it will make you feel more welcome. A few things to avoid when coming to Ghana. I would definitely say, get yourself a local tour guide and a companion. Don't try to come to Ghana and go out on your own. That's not to say it's not dangerous. That's not the danger at all. I mean, I feel safer in Accra at 3 o'clock drunk than I will feel sober in Washington, D.C. at 1. Okay, so it's a very safe environment. That's not the issue. You want to go out with somebody because you don't understand the culture. You don't understand the money aspect, the translation of money, prices. Those are things that you want somebody around to give you a little bit of assistance. Another thing I would I would probably recommend you avoid is eating foods in the local areas. Okay, try to go to restaurants that are a little bit more upscale, because you have no idea what's being done with those foods. And then the last thing I probably would tell you is avoid bushmeat. Okay, because you're not used to it. Okay, you can try it. You know, you probably watch one of those TV shows that told you, yeah, bushmeat and all that, go for it. But I, myself, am not eating bushmeat. Okay, that's my recommendation to you. December in Ghana, what should you look forward to doing the most? I mean, everything's already popular. It's December in Ghana, it's popping. I mean, the hardest thing in December is trying to figure out what to do, because there's so many things that are going on. It's hard to just set your schedule on one thing. But of course, there's the Afrochellas, there's the Afro Nations, there's the Little Havanas. Those major parties will be going on well. But one of the things I definitely would recommend, if you can, is to do a service project. Help people, bring a gift, go to an orphanage, just to go see some kids, let them say hi. You may be the Santa that they've been waiting on. So I definitely say, come here, party hard, enjoy yourself, but if you can, try to find within your heart to do something to impact the community. Am I happy with my decision to come to Ghana? Can I say hell yeah? Can I say that? Yes. I'm 100% happy. I mean, life is grand. When I came to Ghana, I was about 20 pounds smaller. This means good life. So no, I'm very, very happy. I'm extremely joyed. It's one of the best decisions I ever made in my life. And just being here, I've gained easily 10 extra years in my longevity, just in terms of stress being reduced, the quality of life. I can't really speak, enough about it. I would say, if you're listening to me, look into it. Look into it. It's probably one of the best things for you. For me, I'm a working retiree. The work that I do here is like a retirement. I would do this for the rest of my life because not only do I enjoy my job, but I enjoy how I do. I enjoy where I do it, and I enjoy who I do it with. So definitely come on out here and see the possibilities. I think it'd be worth your while. We're just beginning. We expect a lot more. I did not make the investment to come to Ghana. I didn't make the investment of reopening Kustom Looks here and the investment to go and open up a factory system just to be second place. I don't know about any other label, but I know one thing. Kustom Looks is here to accept the challenge. We will make clothes and you will buy and respect our work the same way that you respected Nike and Under Armour and Polo, because we can do it. And we have the same quality. Our people have the same skill. So what you're expecting from me is nothing but excellence. We will continue to grow and continue to climb this ladder until people see us at the same level and the same level of respect that they give to China, that they give to Korea, they give to Hong Kong, Italy, UK, Africa, and Ghana deserves it. And I will fight until the day I die when it comes to Kustom Looks that we will be named at those levels. That's my work ethic and that's my commitment. Success is a planned habit, okay? Plan your success, set your goals, go on out here and come on out here and see the possibilities. The only thing I can tell you is this is the biggest economic opportunity that you will ever have in your life. You need to have the faith and the confidence to come on out here and see for yourself. I did. I'm ecstatic, I'm happy, and I'm inviting you to do it. So come and join us. Hi, I'm Kwab Asamoah of Kustom Looks and Omega Psi Phi Fraternity, and you are watching Face2Face Africa, the premier global Black voice.